30 years ago, the United States and the Soviet Union were eye to eye over the Cuban Missile Crisis. Today, newly released CIA documents show the crisis brought the world to the very brink of nuclear war. CNN's Wolf Blitzer reports.
These previously classified CIA aerial photographs were among the first hard evidence the U.S. had 30 years ago that the Soviet Union had put in Cuba ground-to-ground ballistic missiles capable of reaching much of the U.S. East Coast. But during the 13 days of the October 1962 crisis that followed, President John Kennedy and his aides never knew for certain whether the Soviets had equipped those missiles with nuclear warheads.
That was what the big search was about during that entire period, was to try and find those nuclear warheads, because it could be seen from the photography that the missiles were there, but they couldn't find the warheads.
The Cuban Missile Crisis was the closest the two superpowers came to nuclear war. Helms and other officials say knowledge of the nuclear warheads would have increased pressure for a preemptive strike.
On the morning of October 16th, President Kennedy was told of the U-2 findings. The clock had started counting down on the crisis that would take the world to the brink of war.
But instead, the crisis was resolved after Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles. Now, 30 years later, as part of a new, more open policy, the CIA is releasing documents and photos. And at a first-of-its-kind symposium, it invited scholars, journalists, and former government officials to take a look back. As a sign of the times, also attending was Dr. Sergei Khrushchev, son of the Soviet leader. As dangerously close as the world was to nuclear war then, he says the situation today is even more perilous, given the instability in Russia and the other former Soviet republics that still control 30,000 nuclear warheads.
The Cuban Missiles crisis was very close to the brink, but from the both sides, President John Kennedy and my father take the events in their hands. But now, if something happened, nobody knows who will decide.
Curiously, the CIA's director, Robert Gates, could not attend this conference. He's on the first ever official visit to Moscow by a CIA chief, and he's discussing possible cooperation with the Russian KGB. Wolf Blitzer, CNN, at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia.